Hi guys, welcome back to George Reads once again, where today I am reading Chapter 2 of I'm Telling You They're Aliens by Jeremy Strong. Last time in Chapter 1, Rob told us a bit about himself and about how he worries a lot and what his life is like at school and at home. And this is a chapter going on from that, Chapter 2. So, let's get into it. Chapter 2, Strange Beings. Today's horoscope. An excellent day. You can let yourself relax. The heat is taken off you at work, and you'll be surprised at how easily the day passes. That is truly what it said. I remember it clearly. Well, I suppose nobody can be right all the time, not even Mystic Myrtle the Cosmic Turtle. Just in case you were wondering, that's my CD-ROM program. The astrological charts are presented by this giant galaxy-cruising turtle. It's got really good graphics. Anyhow, my horoscope was not exactly accurate because this was the day the new neighbours arrived. The house across the road had been empty for weeks. We were beginning to wonder if anyone would move in. "You're keeping them away with your violin practice," said Dad, and he made squeaky squeak noises and grinned at me. It was meant to be a joke, his one joke, and he repeated it just about every day. Even Mum was getting fed up with it. Then, suddenly, bam, we'd got new neighbours. It was like they'd fallen out of space and landed in the house next door, which is almost exactly what had happened. I knew they were aliens the first moment I saw them. I could feel it in my body. I got this kind of creeping sensation as if ants were slowly crawling up and down the inside of my bones. You know how when you see an old bone and it's all sort of hollow down the middle like a tunnel? Well, that's where these ants were crawling, up and down, and it worried me. Nobody had seen a removal van. Nobody had seen the new neighbours move in. One moment they weren't there, and the next moment they were. It was just like Star Trek, you know, when they get beamed from one place to another. Only nobody saw it happen. I was in my bedroom doing my violin practice when I noticed them. He looked like a typical human, but I mean, what a giveaway! Aliens coming to our planet always look like ordinary humans. Otherwise, you'd spot them a mile off and go around screaming, "Help! Aliens! Aliens invading planet Earth!" Well, I would anyhow. He looked about 14. He was lanky, and there was something threatening about the way he just stood there. He was wearing shorts, the really baggy kind that come up to your knees. He had funny hair too. Well, it wasn't exactly funny. Weird would be a better word. It was very short, and it had a zigzag pattern shaved onto it, just as if the hairdresser had some terrifying scare and his electric razor had slipped. I guess it was because his hair was so short that his ears stuck out. They were extraordinary. They sat on the sides of his head like twin satellite dishes. I mean, with ears like those, he could pick up messages from deep space, let alone satellite TV. Anyhow, by this time, I had goose pimples all over, which is a sure sign that I was seriously scared. I was staring down at this boy, and then his mother came out and called to him. She was pretty and well dressed, but she looked even more worried than me, as if she had some dreadful secret, which she did, of course. There was something else, too. She had the mark upon her. There was a dark blotch just below her throat. I could tell it wasn't a bruise or anything like that. I zipped downstairs, borrowed Dad's bird-watching binoculars, and zoomed in. You know what that mark was? It was a star cluster, a constellation. She might just as well have carried a sticker on her head with the name of her planet written onto it. She called to the boy, and he went across to her. She whispered something to him, and they both gazed about, as if they were keeping an eye out for something, and their heads made this curious, sharp movement. They looked more like birds or lizards than human beings. I mean, you know, it was strange. The mother pointed to the watch on the boy's wrist, and he nodded several times. They both went indoors. By this time, those ants had invaded every bone in my body. I knew for certain that I had just had a close encounter of the third kind, the kind where you come face to face with a real alien. I had to sit down. I couldn't take aliens standing up, not straight away at any rate. I sat down on my bed, and I was sweating and breathing hard. The goose pimples had gone, but by now my skin was going hot and cold. This was a sure sign of a fever. I was burning up. I got this really useful book, which I use in just such emergencies. I seized a complete medical encyclopedia and skimmed through the pages. It didn't take me long to work out that I was well into the second stage of malaria. Malaria, the curse of the jungle. but I hadn't been anywhere near a jungle. The closest thing to a jungle in my area were the bushes in our front garden, and they were not exactly infested with malaria-carrying mosquitoes. There was only one possible answer. The aliens had brought it with them. This was no ordinary kind of malaria. This was more like intergalactic malaria. This was the most deadly kind there could possibly be, with no known cure, and I was the very first victim. I began to wonder how long I had to live. Would my next breath be my last? My throat felt all raspy. My legs had gone weak at the knees. I grabbed a pen and some paper and hastily began scribbling a note. Dear world, I have been killed by a deadly virus brought by aliens in the house opposite. Be very careful. Do not enter the house without protective clothing. You have been warned. Love, Robert. P.S. I told you this would happen. The love Robert at the end seemed a little wimpy, but what else could I put? Anyway, what would you have done? Just think for a moment. Do you go and tell your parents? It will be like, Mum, aliens have moved in over the road. Oh dear, that is a shame. Make sure you keep your curtains pulled and wear clean underpants. Mum is always telling me to wear clean underpants in case I have an accident. I don't want you ending up in the hospital with dirty underwear, she says. Well, I don't want to end up in hospital, full stop. The trouble is, people think you're very strange if you go around saying things about alien invasions, and if you're not very careful, they come and take you away and lock you up and feed you on things like rice pudding, which I hate. So who do you tell? Do you go to the police? Do you tell the kids in your class? They already think I'm half mad anyway, and they won't listen to me anyhow, not after that episode of the non-existent asteroid. I decided to keep quiet. I thought I'd keep a low profile, pretend there was nothing wrong, but all the time be on the lookout, watching for clues. I had already discovered that there were 4 of them all together, and now I had to find out what kind of aliens they were and why they had come to planet Earth. Actually, the answer to that question was pretty obvious. Aliens only come to Earth for one reason, and that is to take it over, invade every bit of it. Everyone knows that. I mean, they're not likely to drive halfway across the universe just to ask if they could borrow some sugar. By this time, you would probably have worked out for yourself that I hadn't taken my last breath and died. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to write this down for you. Evidently, the aliens were not going to use a deadly virus. They had some other plan up their sleeve. Assuming aliens have sleeves. If they don't, then what can they hide things up? Their nostrils, armpits, ears? I seem to be going off track here a bit. You can imagine my surprise and my rampaging feelings when Mum made the following announcement shortly after lunch. I've met the new neighbours, she said. They seem nice. I've asked them over for a cup of coffee this afternoon so we can meet the family. The aliens were coming to our house? For tea and biscuits? How many are there? Dad asked warily. He doesn't like having to make conversation with strangers. There's Norman and Petal and the parents. I don't know their first names, but their surname is Vork. Vork? Dad gave a short laugh, but it wasn't funny to me. It was just so obvious. Aliens were bound to have strange names. I mean, Vork. It was probably an alien word. It probably meant death to all earthlings or killer king of Krag or something. Mum raised her eyebrows. That's what they said. I don't suppose they think their surname is funny at all. I hope you won't laugh at them when they come over. Mum, he wears shorts, I said. Just right for this weather. You should do the same. Get some air up your legs. Mum, you are a bit weedy, Robert. You should get some exercise, eat more. I was silent. The conversation was rapidly moving on to what's wrong with Robert, stage 1. This is the bit where my parents say I need building up. Stage 2 is when they suggest I take up weight training. Stage 3 arrives when they start talking about high-protein diets, fitness programs, and no more watching TV. What's Mr. Vork like? Asked Dad, and I inwardly sighed with relief. I had escaped being turned into Muscle Man for the time being. Oh, he seemed a bit quiet, but he's got sharp eyes. Sharp? Yes, they bore into you, you know. Penetrating eyes, and they dart all over the place. Have you ever noticed how people say really daft things? How can anyone's eyes dart about? They're not fish. Dad asked what Mr. Vork did for a living. Something to do with computers, that's what his wife said. Rob, you know Norman's only 14. You could be friends with someone called Norman? Nobody's called Norman. Norman is, said Dad, laughing at his own joke. Anyhow, you can't write someone off just because of their name. Oh yeah? Tell me another. What about Wolfgang Amadeus, eh? What about that? Besides, no one was 14. It was like Mum asking me to be friends with a werewolf. My parents know nothing. Are you listening, Robert? What? Mum gave a big sigh. World of your own, she murmured. I said, just be nice to him when he comes over this afternoon. And little Petal too. She's only a year and a half old. She looked rather sweet. How can my parents be taken in so easily? And that's the end of chapter 2. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to tune in for chapter 3 tomorrow night. But for now, that is it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.